The KTM Duke 390 has been one of the most amazing motorbikes to ever come to India. And that's because it was the first motorbike to bring performance to the masses. An affordable motorcycle with all the performance you could ask for, available to anyone for a great price. Well, they've been around for a very long time. They've got a cult following now in the country. And this is their newest launch, the 790 Duke, the much-awaited bike that's now entering the mid-segment motorcycle market. We've just ridden it here at the Chakan plant for Bajaj at their test track. We've only had a very brief track time with it, so I'm just going to quickly run through this new motorcycle. So first things first, when you see this bike up close and personal, it doesn't really stand out that much. It's not like a Ducati Monster or let's say the Suzuki GSX 750. It doesn't look as brazen as those. But honestly, this bike is a little understated, but that's great, that's fine, because this bike is supposed to do one thing and one thing only, and that's for you to have a fantastic time on it. Well, ready to race has been KTM's motto the whole time, and ready to race is exactly what this bike is. It is ready to hit the track whenever you want to. This bike looks okay. It's very small, very compact. It weighs about 169 kilograms, so it's super light, very light as a matter of fact. The Triumph Street Triple S actually weighs about the same, which is why these bikes are so nice and easy to handle. One of the biggest problems for me with the Duke 390 was that it was a very cramped riding position, but there's a lot more room for your legs on this motorcycle. Now, if you're a tall rider, you actually appreciate that, because this bike really, it might seem small at first, but when you get on and you ride, it's actually very comfortable. And you can ride it in the city, you can ride it on the highway, you can ride it on the track, and you'll be absolutely comfortable on this bike. So now this is obviously a 800cc segment motorcycle. So it's a Duke 790. This is the first parallel twin to come to India. This is the flagship model, of course, and this engine gets 105 brake horsepower. That's more than enough power when you consider that this bike is very light. The engine obviously is not as refined as the Triumph or the Kawasaki, but it's still very smooth, no hiccups whatsoever. Throttle response is on point. You get 4 riding modes. You get sport and you get street, you get rain, you get track. Now, of course, we all know what riding modes do. In rain, the power goes down a little bit, but when you have it in track, you can actually adjust each and every setting to the way you want it to be. So if you want your throttle to be a little less instantaneous when you're on the track, you can do that in the track mode. If you want your traction control to be on or off, you can do that. There's so much you can do. Even in terms of safety, this bike gets a whole bunch of goodies. You've got ABS, cornering ABS, wheelie control, launch control. You've also got a slipper clutch, and of course you've got a quick shifter. And the quick shifter works really, really well, not just for upshifting, but even for downshifting. This bike really is something special for sure when it comes to handling. It's called the Scalpel, and that's because of its precision handling. And this bike really does a fantastic job. You can turn, you can lean into curves, you can go side to side very easily. This bike is so easily manageable. The steering is very nice. It's got a steering damping, of course, as well, and that makes the bike feel very comfortable, and you feel very confident even when you're going into tight turns at high speeds. The bike is very well balanced, and of course it gets very nice 17-inch tires. These tires were made specifically for this bike, and it offers great grip, fantastic grip. Other things to mention is, of course, the lovely instrument cluster, which is a full color and very nice. The only downside, I would say, of this bike is just a little bit of the quality control. The quality control is not the best. You can see it on the switchgear and the buttons and the small wiring, but otherwise everything else is super fantastic. Once again, we've only had a very small amount of time with the bike. We haven't ridden it off the track. We've only ridden on track, so we don't know what the urban conditions are going to be like. But the suspension is great, the wheels are great, the engine is super, the transmission is fantastic, and this bike is really, really, really fast. We were able to go 200 plus on this track over here, so it's really quick, very exciting to ride, and of course handles like a dream. Now, when you look at the price of this bike, it's 8.5 lakh ex-showroom. If you compare that to the Suzuki GSX 750 or the Kawasaki Z900, it's a little bit more than that, but honestly, this bike offers so much more in terms of technology. So if you are tech savvy, this bike definitely offers you a whole lot more in terms of that, and the performance is almost equally matched, except for the Kawasaki Z900, which honestly has the best engine I've seen in this segment. It's super fantastic. Then of course you have the Monster, which is priced really high. It's the highest price in the segment, but the Monster obviously is a Ducati, and that stands for something itself. And then of course you have the Triumph Street Triple S, and the Street Triple S is perhaps one of the most special bikes in this segment. And if you get the RS, it's even more fantastic. But overall, this bike fits nicely into the segment. If you're a KTM fanboy, you will definitely like this bike. If you're looking for something that's a little different than what's available right now, of course you'd like this as well. There's nothing really bad to say about this bike in terms of its overall performance and handling. It's a really fantastic bike. So make sure you head out to a KTM dealership, go for a test ride, and let us know if you have any questions or comments, and we'll get right back to you guys.